Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Sunday, August 27th, 2023, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Now Mind You podcast. This is, of course, episode 80, Combat. I'm TJ.
I'm Bryce.
Matt is not with us today. There was a schedule conflict. Shit happens. That's why there are three of us. We can cover each other's backs, y'all. With that, though, right, in terms of the docket for today, we are mostly we're only going to be covering the event that took place yesterday morning, early as hell, Central Time, right? It was like a 5 a.m. card for the prelims, and then I think the main event started at like 6 a.m. or something like that. No, actually, the main event must have started at like 7 a.m., if I'm being 100% honest, but it was an early card. It took me
It
by
was early.
surprise. Only noticed it because I saw a social media post about Waldo Cortez Acosta. I'm like, wait, what is, huh? And I went out, ESPN Plus was like, oh shit. And I jumped in. But I got caught up on all the fights, make no mistake, right? So, and Bryce as well, right? So we had UFC Singapore, UFC Fight Night in Singapore, Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. On that card, for the main card, which we'll be covering, we had Tafa versus Porter at heavyweight, Blanchfield versus Santos at women's flyweight, Nakamura versus Garcia at bantamweight, Chikadze versus Caceres at featherweight, Smith versus Span at light heavy, and then, of course, the main event, Holloway versus Jung at featherweight. With that, Bryce, take us into Tafa versus Porter, please.
Yeah, let's go with the Julia Tafel versus Parker Porter. Opening fight of the main card. Parker Porter was coming off of a TKO win over Braxton Smith at UFC 288, and Junior Tafa was coming off of a loss via decision to Muhammad Usman. Going into this fight, it was it was brought to my attention that Tafa's brother has a win over Parker Porter. And the commentary team actually talking about how Tafa just had an advantage because his brother could just show him the details to get the win over Parker Porter. And that's what happened. Parker Porter got knocked out in the first round with a vicious strike. That was actually the second time he got struck in the fight. The first time he fell over, it was pretty bad. He got his bearings back. They got back into it, but that second one, they was like, nah, we not even gonna continue this. He was still up. He was still looked like he was still functioning and everything like that, but nah, he caught that. He caught that, and that shit just took him down.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. It's a family affair when it comes to the Taffa family and Parker Porter. Um, um, I don't think this is gonna. I don't. I, this is it's just a hell of a way to start the card. I feel like this was the energy from this fight was very viral. Like it followed through the rest of the night. It was a hell of an opener. Good on Junior Taffa. I'm excited to see what he'll do next. Parker Porter, hey man, it's just get back into the gym. You know, it happens. It
Yeah.
happens. Don't mess with them Taffas no more. If they got the
Yeah.
last Taffa, just don't do it.
Just leave it alone.
Just don't do it. Just leave it alone. But yeah, that's what you think, TJ.
Um, I mean, you said everything that had to be said, but my only question is Justin Tafa still active in the UFC? Because do we potentially have two siblings in the same division?
That would be
And would they face off? And like, what does that Thanksgiving look like? Like, what was the next holiday, family holiday look like if one of them wins, one of them loses, right?
right.
That's all I had on that, bro. That was a crazy knockout.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Um, I'm actually looking at the one. I'm about to compare knockouts really quick if you don't mind me.
Please.
And just judging off of this, I can. Oh no, yeah, Justin's was way worse. Big Brother's was way worse. This motherfucker, yeah, nah, he ain't getting up. Nah, yeah, big brother, big brother, big brother made him forget who he was for a second. It's cool. Ooh, wait, wasn't new. Shit. I'm sorry. I got distracted. I just was not expecting that. But
That's
yeah,
fair.
it's a
That
family.
is 100% fair. Um, with that though, is it cool if I take us into Blanchfield versus Santos?
Let's do it.
So we got at women's flyweight Erin Blanchfield versus Tyler Santos. What's interesting to note about this is Erin Blanchfield has been making a case for her being the next in line for a title shot because I was looking at her UFC data, bro, and she's on a what's that 6 fight win streak? Holy shit. She
Damn.
jumped into the UFC in 2021. She's been winning since her debut, Bryce.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and
Dang.
like her last 3 fights, I feel like we've covered on the podcast, like her versus Meatball, her versus Jessica Andrade, which was also insane that her submitting Jessica Andrade, then her versus Tyler Santos. Now, like I said, she's been making a mean case for her being in line for the next title shot. Of course, Grasso versus Shevchenko too has to happen. And I guess maybe the winner of that is going to be Blanchfield's next opponent. With that though, here's the thing: Tyler Santos, her last fight was challenging for the title against Valentina Shevchenko, and she did not. She was unable to meet that challenge, right? It did not go her way. She ended up losing, I want to say, was it by split decision? So it was close, right? It was a close battle, but bro, on paper, Tyler Santos has all the guns needed, if you will, to defeat an Erin Blanchfield. But here's the thing: here's Blanchfield's game plan. Wear her out with the grappling, and this is something that Matt has been saying quite a bit in our last several combat episodes. But I'm gonna echo it right now: wrestling, 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 wrestling. Because this is what Blanchfield did. She hemmed up Santos against the edge of that fence, and she was trying to hold Santos down. To Santos's credit, she's also got some pretty good takedown defense and is able to bounce right back up to her feet, which takes a lot of strength. But what does it also do? It puts your gas tank on edge, right? It gets that check engine light to come on. And as soon as that check engine light started coming on, that's when Blanchfield was dominating the fight. So it ended up being a unanimous decision win for Blanchfield. But again, she's making a strong case for her to be next in line for that title shot. Because again, I'm looking at her UFC record right now, strictly in the UFC. I'm not talking about her pro record. Bro, she is 6-0 in the
Yeah.
UFC right now. And already some of the names on her resume. I mean, Jessica Andrade, and again, like I said, Tyler Santos just tested for or just challenged for the title. So she's racking up some names, bro.
She racking them up.
She's
She gonna
racking
keep
them
going.
up. Yeah. Her record overall, 12 wins, 1 loss.
Yeah, she's beastly.
Mm-hmm.
It's beastly.
What'd you
Hey,
think, man? I'm gonna pass it
I
over to
thought it
you.
was a good fight, man. Like you said, I think you covered it. You know, not only she just came in there with a good plan and uh took advantage.
Yeah,
It's one thing to have like momentum like that. Like, she definitely did take some shots, but that didn't stop her at the end of the day. Um,
right.
yeah, it was a good display. And honestly, she made a strong case. Normally, it would be a knockout or something like that, but honestly, you
I
know,
mean, she was up against somebody who just challenged for the title,
exactly,
so it's like,
exactly, and did it easily. I like my numbers, so
right.
let's go into it. Total strikes. Blanchfield had 119 out of 210. Talia had 96 out of 202.
Mm,
Significant strikes. Blanchfield had the 61 out of 128, and
mm.
Talia had 55 out of 151. Yeah, so um, it was just good. It was just plain and simple. Um, she did her thing. She has a good case. Um, and hopefully we see that in the near future. But I don't know what's they're probably gonna run back the Shevchenko fight.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so, yeah,
Well, also now that I think about it too, it's like she's making a strong case, but I don't know if she's had any 5 rounders yet. So maybe she main events something too. Maybe she main events a
yeah,
fight night.
yeah.
And then possibly like they line her up. But even if she doesn't main event a fight night, bro, like she's it's a strong ass case. It's
Yeah,
like it's a
yeah.
strong ass case.
And you know, like I know, like sometimes with people, it just depends on if you making a noise for people to like get
Mm-hmm.
behind the title fight. But fuck that shit. She 6 fights, 6 wins in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Got some names on that shit. You better give her that shit. Yeah, that's just how I feel.
I
Um,
don't disagree.
yeah. So should we get into the
Take
next?
it, bro. Take it. They
All
got to
right,
know.
bantamweight fight. Femi, Garcia versus Renya Nakamura. Renya has been on an undefeated streak. And he is a I want to say he was an Olympic wrestler.
You
Or
are right. Yeah.
yeah, it was an Olympic wrestler that got into the UFC via a tournament, I think, and he's just been killing it. Yeah, he's on a
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fight win streak
Holy shit.
starting May 15th, 2021 in Japan, his bantamweight debut. Um,
Holy shit.
yeah,
That's
um,
8 fights, bro.
8 fights, 8.
Does he have a number next to his name?
That's a good question. If you give me just a second, I can tell you. I don't think he does though.
That's insane.
Let me see. Let's see. Let's go to your. I'm gonna look it up in a second. Let me just go into it. So clearly, we're in your one. Um,
Oh, wait, you know what it is,
disrespect the
Bryce?
thing.
He
What?
made his UFC debut in 2022, and I think he might have been coming off of let me see, double check. UFC Fight Night. Road to UFC Asia. That was the tournament that he was coming off of. Yeah. So
Yeah.
as far as like being in the UFC roster as a pro, I think it's only been since this year. But even then, niggas
Okay.
been on a tear.
Um, but yeah, Renya completely dominated Femi.
Mm-hmm.
There was just it was a smokehouse. It was a smoke show. Renya just had that momentum, and like every time Femi got to the ground, and best believe he got to the ground, Renya was on top of him. Like, have you ever seen like a spider catch a fly or something in their web? And
I've
like
seen video of it. I've never
they
seen it
just
in person.
right, but yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They're just like using their appendages to just wrap it up in silk and just they're stuck. That's what Renya did. He just had Femi on the ground, and just was dominant. He every time there was an opening, I think he almost finished him in the first round, didn't he?
You are
He had
correct.
he tried to choke, it didn't work, and then he tried to do he was tried the ground and pound method, but the bell saved him. The bell saved Femi. And then after that, I guess like that pretty much kind of scared Femi into kind of keeping his distance, but Renya just stayed on him. I want to say Femi tried to get a takedown in the second round, in the third round, but it just ended up Renya took control again, dominated. It was just a dominant show by Renya. Very good showing, very interesting. How he plays out in this division, the bantamweight division, is going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, this dude is making a name for himself.
Yeah.
So, holy shit, that's all I got to say. I'll pass
Yeah.
it over to you, CJ. What you got?
I don't disagree with you. Every round there was a submission attempt that was just a little bit off for it to be complete. There was the north-south choke in round one that you also alluded to, Bryce. There was the Americana shoulder lock in round two, and then there was the armbar Jujigatame in round three. And like every time it was just slightly off. There was like one detail that was a little bit off in order for him to seal the deal, but the guy is a grappler. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, he's a wrestler, but he's clearly also added the ingredients of his grappling, his submission wrestling, his jujitsu, because man, he like even the armbar, even though it was slightly at an off angle, it still looked like he could have broken that dude's arm. This was just one-sided wrestling. This was just a one-sided shutdown. It was like seeing somebody throw a no-hitter in baseball, right? It was just he didn't really let Garcia get his feet together. I mean, Garcia had some moments. I mean, his corner was also telling us like, "Hey, bro, move, let those hands go." But it ultimately resulted in him just being dominated by this Japanese Olympic level wrestler. Um, wow, wow,
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say. You pretty much covered everything.
yeah. Um, well, yeah, we'll get into the next one. Alex Caceres versus Giga Chikadze. I
Chikaze,
Chikadze.
mm,
I do have to head out, but I will say this about this fight. It just seemed like Giga was the more patient fighter and the more precise fighter. That's what really this came down to.
yeah,
Caceres was definitely hungry. He was definitely going for it. Definitely the more aggressive fighter.
yeah.
But Giga just picked the shots and they just landed perfectly. They landed well and they landed effectively. Every
And,
time he landed, Caceres lost balance. He was
yeah.
just, yeah,
And it's not to say that Caceres was being like overly eager or over aggressive. Like he was just fighting how he always fights. But in this
it was a
case,
good fight. It was a
yeah,
good fight.
yeah. In this case, it was just he was kind of outmatched a little bit on the power side.
Yeah,
Because Giga definitely was, as Bryce was saying, patient and really careful with the shots he took, but when he took them, they just did a lot of damage. But make no mistake, Caceres was in that fight for every second of it. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't complete domination is what I'm getting at. Like Caceres was still fighting. You know what I'm saying?
right, exactly, exactly. It was a close one.
Yeah.
But I gotta head out. Y'all have a good one. I'll talk to you later, TJ.
Thank you, Bryce. Appreciate you, brother. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, man.
You too, brother.
All right.
Peace.
Peace. Um, with that though, right? So Caceres did what he could, but that power differential ended up proving to be a little bit too much. Chikadze got that win, and after coming off from what appears to be like a year to 2 year layoff, not bad, not bad. I personally don't think that Caceres' stock is going to go down though. Next up, we had Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann at light heavyweight. All right, I'll just go into my notes. I think Smith had a crazy good first round. You could have almost put money on it being very similar to how their first matchup ended. But Spann did the most damage in the second round. It ended with Anthony Smith's eyes swelling shut, his left eye swelling shut because Spann delivered a elbow. I want to say there was a knee, then a elbow. Had Smith on his back. It was just nasty. And in all fairness, Spann could have finished it then and there, but he wanted to be patient, show a little bit of patience because sometimes you get over. I mean, last time he fought was against Nikita Krylov. He got a little bit too eager on the ground and pound and getting pulled immediately into one of the tightest triangles I've ever seen on an MMA card, right? So I can understand why, especially with Anthony Smith's jiu-jitsu background, why Spann would probably exercise a little bit more patience and let Anthony Smith get back to his feet and try to just end it on the feet as opposed to potentially having to deal with the jiu-jitsu. With that though, like I said, round one, got to give it to Smith. Round two, Spann all day. Round three was a little bit questionable. I might be misremembering, but I feel like maybe Smith caught another double leg in round three, which I could see maybe swaying the judges, but I don't know. It ended up being a split decision win for Anthony Smith, but I thought Spann had it personally. If you just go off of visual damage, but I also have to say I'm a fan of both of these guys, so it was a little bit of a hard watch and split decision. It was close. Maybe we have. Well, I guess it wouldn't make sense to go for a third one between the two of them because Smith is now up 2-0, so I don't know, but I thought it was really close. It honestly could have gone either way, and maybe we would have had things. No, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like Spann had it, but I'll just leave it at that. Let me go into the main event. This was, of course, Max Holloway versus Chan Sung Jung, aka the Korean Zombie, and it's interesting how they had never crossed paths before this fight. It was at featherweight, and I'll just get into it, right? Jung had a really good first round. He was actually kind of rocking Max Holloway a little bit. And you got to give Max Holloway some credit too, because he was fighting with all Hawaiians on his back and with all the the wildfires going on in Lahaina, Maui right now. It's like you could see that it was weighing on this man, and he had to fight with that in mind. So maybe that first round was just maybe him having to also deal with that additional pressure, right? But I don't want to discredit Jung's performance because he also was looking pretty sharp on the feet. With that being said, once we got into round two, I mean, Holloway flipped the switch because there's something about two fighters, I guess, when it's Max Holloway, whenever him and his opponent end up just swinging for the fences and just being like, all right, let's just duke it out in the middle of the octagon, where he's at his sharpest, because he caught Jung with a right hand that hit flush right on the button, right on the chin. And it was a good knockout because Jung was still mid combination. His body, the momentum, he was still throwing a strike, and the momentum of that strike still carried him and his body toward the canvas as the lights were going out. Like that's a knockout, y'all. Like there was no question. And it's just what it is. Max was able to clinch that victory by knockout, and that's saying something because like the Korean Zombie, him getting finished, like there's a reason why they call him the Zombie. So for Max to get him with the KO, that's pretty crazy. Uh yeah, like he's been TKO'd, but he's never been like knocked out. At least I don't think so. Yeah, Max sent him off with the KO, got that victory for himself, and by extension Hawaii. Was bringing a lot of attention to aiding Hawaii for the wildfires, like I said, in Lahaina. Just yeah, it was a good showing for Max. And also, I mean, you never want to see somebody get knocked out before they retire. You can't necessarily choose how your career ends, but man, Chan Sung Jung has been doing this for damn near 30 years, right? Like in the UFC, and just yeah, like you got to hang up the gloves at some point. And I want to say congratulations on a crazy and awesome career, Hall of Famer for sure. Um, yeah, man, yeah, Chan Sung Jung, like give him his props, give him his props. Uh, with that, next up, I believe the next fight night we have in the UFC is going to be a fight night, I believe, in France again, and it's going to be Cyril Gane versus Sergey Spivak, right? And this will be in France, so it's going to be a special start time for this card, which will essentially amount to 2 p.m. Central Daylight Time for us stateside. So this should be good. Let's just go ahead and take a little look at who's on this card. All right. So who's opening the main card? We have Yanis Gimuri versus Colin Lauren. This is an Irish name, so I do apologize if I butchered the pronunciation. Then we have William Gumi versus Lucas Almeida. At featherweight, at light heavy, we have Volkan Uzdemir versus Bogdan Guskov. At lightweight, we have Benoit Saint-Denis, who we just recently saw in action. I forget against who, versus Thiago Moises. Who's the last person we saw? Because I know we covered this on the pod. It was Benoit Saint-Denis versus Bonfim. Yes. I remember this because Saint-Denis got the submission win over Bonfim. And then we have Rose Namajunas coming back at women's flyweight against Manon Fiorot. Wait, how they can't both be number 2 in the division? That's not how that works. But and then I guess they're fighting to see who will remain number 2 in the division. But if they're both already number 2, anyway. And then of course the main event is going to be Cyril Gane at heavyweight versus Sergey Spivak. So we will be covering that next week. I believe the three of us should be back. Let me just double check the Top Rank website to see if there's any boxing that we should keep an eye out for. Events. Anything on September 2nd? It looks like we got the junior welterweight battle of Michaela Meyer versus Sylvia Bortot. I'll sync up with Matt, but there's a chance that we may be covering this one because it's also happening on Saturday, September 2nd. But with that, thank you all for listening to another episode of the Now Mind You podcast. This, of course, has been episode 80, Combat. You can find the podcast on all your favorite podcast distribution platforms by simply looking up Now Mind You podcast. As far as social media is concerned, You can find us on pretty much all social media by simply looking up Now Mind You Pod. That's at NOWMINDYOUPOD. You can find me on Instagram at Tuss4Skate. That's TUSS number 4_SKATE. You can find Bryce on Instagram at Ashe Onta. That's AXE_ONTA. And you can find Matt on damn near everything at Matt Hambrick. That's MATTHAMBRIC. Thank you all for listening. Have a great start to your week, and we'll catch you on the next one, y'all. Peace.